Hello, and welcome to Season 2 of Dentistry Support, the podcast, with your host, the kind-hearted and infectious Sarah Beth Herman. We're back for a new season and ready to pack a punch. In every episode, we'll be sharing you quick, impactful insights into the challenges our dental community and leaders in all industries face. Expect a little bit of flair, a few laughs, and you might even recognize a friend or two. Because of you, we are the #1 podcast in dentistry and #1 in management and business. And we couldn't be more excited to keep bringing you practical wisdom and leadership with a servant's heart. All delivered in just enough time for your commute or morning team huddle. We're glad you're here, so let's get into it. Please welcome your host, Sarah Beth.
Today, we're going to chat about something that's been the difference between survival and strength for me. Understanding pressure versus stress. We often hear about these concepts, but let's get real for a minute about what they mean and how they actually impact our lives. This won't be your average motivational episode. This is a message for anyone who's ever felt pushed, challenged, and drained by the demands of their career, their relationships, and even themselves. If you're tuning in today, thank you. And I want you to know one thing. You are unstoppable. But let me tell you, I know what it's like to stand in your own way. I know what it feels like to let stress eat at you. And if you feel like that sometimes, if you feel overwhelmed by your work or your responsibilities, today's conversation, it's meant for you. A couple weeks ago, I was a guest on a podcast. And the host handed me a book before we went in the recording studio, and she said, "This book, I want you to read it. It's changed everything for me. It's what got me where I am right now." And I'm typically the person that will go listen to a podcast or open up the Audible app and listen to an audiobook. But I'm telling you, I listened to her words as she said to me, "I need you to read this book. Like, actually read it. Don't listen to it. Don't skim through it, but spend the time reading it." I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, this book has been monumental in helping me reframe what pressure really is. The book is called Relentless by Tim Grover. There's a line in this book that stuck with me. He says, "Pressure is a privilege. It only comes to those who earn it." When I first read that, it hit me so hard and I started thinking, what if pressure isn't something to avoid? What if it's something that means you're exactly where you're supposed to be? I guess that's a little bit more powerful, right? Let's talk about what these forces are and why they matter so much. Pressure and stress might feel similar, but they're two completely different things. And when I say different, I mean deeply, deeply different. Pressure is the weight you can carry because you're ready to show up. You're ready to lead. You're ready to accomplish something meaningful. It's like that sharpening force that drives you to deliver your best, even when it's really freaking challenging. But stress is unresolved. It's a gnawing tension that sits heavy on you and eats away at your strength. Stress drains you. Pressure, it motivates you. And being able to separate these two changes everything. Here are some questions I've learned to ask myself and help me figure out which one I'm dealing with or which one I need to handle right now because it's actually something that's unresolved. And before you listen to these questions that I'm going to ask myself and that I'm going to challenge you to ask yourself, when you complete work on a Friday, do you ever leave something for Monday? And then you think about it all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and Monday comes around and it's almost so paralyzing to even think about what has to get done today because you're so stressed out and you've been stressed out since Friday at 5 when you should have just handled it then. Here's the questions. Am I motivated to act or am I paralyzed? Pressure usually feels like a push forward, while stress feels like something holding you back. Is this within my control? Pressure is often tied to something you can influence directly, while stress lingers around things outside your immediate control. What happens when I face a tough situation? If it makes me sharper, that's pressure working in my favor. If it leaves me feeling depleted, that's stress. Now let's get personal, because I want to take you back to a time in my life when I can tell you I clearly know that I was going through both pressure and stress, and I had no idea how to manage either. Years ago, I was a regional director of operations in the dental industry. This was before I built dentistry support. I had the idea of it, but it wasn't yet built. I was managing over 30 dental practices. My responsibilities were incredible. I was about to head to Washington to facilitate the sale of a dental practice for one of my owner doctors. It was high stakes, and everything depended on that sale going through smoothly. And what I can tell you about dental office sales is that whenever they tell you it's going to close or it's going to be finished by, add 6 months, because something always comes up. And that happened with this particular practice 3 different times. It was supposed to have closed a year and a half prior. The owner had already postponed the sale a couple of times, and that meant pressure on top of pressure to get things moving. But here's where it got twisted. The owner started asking me to do things that weren't just questionable, they were flat out unethical and illegal. I was being pressured to push boundaries I wasn't comfortable with, and I knew that if I didn't, I'd be putting my reputation at risk too. I was stuck between doing what was right and meeting the expectations of this job. And then to add another layer, there was the COO that I worked under. This chief operating officer was, well, let's say, piece of work. If you're listening to this episode, so much of me wants to say I'm sorry for what my corner of the universe will know about you. But then again, this is my reality. This is what I experienced. This is my truth. This chief operating officer positioned himself as someone who knew the way, but in reality, he didn't. He would say a lot of common phrases you hear in business that make you sound really savvy, but never really lived any of them out. He had his way of coming down on the team for things that were out of their control, but well within his. This was someone who walked into meetings acting like they had all the answers, only to berate the team. This COO made it his mission to control, to look busy for our CEO's benefit. And he was known for making others feel small to maintain his power. This was the most toxic environment I've ever worked in. And I've worked for executives in Beverly Hills, California, but this experience took the cake. This chief operating officer was having an affair with the head of our C-suite. Of course, I'm sure you know what that title is. And the entire team knew. In fact, the entire company knew. People whispered. Everyone was walking around on eggshells, and it was clear that he controlled the office with intimidation and manipulation. That whole atmosphere, combined with the mounting expectations on me to perform and to close this deal and to get it handled, it was weighing on me in ways I cannot even describe to you. I was constantly on, ready to react, ready to fix every little crisis that he threw my way. I felt trapped in a game I didn't even want to play. Eventually, this all took a toll on me physically. I developed Bell's palsy. If you're not familiar with it, it's a condition where one side of your face becomes paralyzed, and it can look like you've had a stroke. For me, it was on the left side. My smile became lopsided. I couldn't fully blink one eye. In fact, it literally would stay open when I slept and when I was awake. I couldn't chew food normally. I was exhausted in a way I'd never experienced before. It was as if my body was saying, enough. I'm shutting down. You can't take an ounce more of stress. But I did. I took the trip for a week and a half to Washington. I finished all of the duties I had to finish. I finalized everything. Every box was checked. Every activity was complete. It was wild. The pressure to perform, to stay ethical, to navigate a control-driven boss, it was all adding up in ways I literally have such a hard time even explaining to you right now. And this wasn't the kind of pressure that makes you stronger. This was stress, plain and simple. That experience, feeling like I was carrying the weight of the world, dealing with a boss who didn't know how to lead and a system that felt broken, was part of what led me to start my own company, to be my own leader, to know that there were ways I would never act, things I would never do, people I would never work with, because those were choices I could make in my own world. And now I'm bringing all of those lessons into a new program that's launching in 2025. It's called Blueprint to Breakthrough. This isn't just another leadership program. This is a community, a strategy, and a system that supports you in becoming unstoppable. In Blueprint to Breakthrough, we're not just talking about growth or success. We're talking about stepping into the kind of leadership that literally forces you to thrive. It forces you to work on your business and yourself. Here's how it works. 1, strategic priorities. You'll learn to see what truly matters, to separate the noise from what deserves your energy. No more feeling scattered, no more guessing. This is about laser-focused and aligned action. Operations with purpose. That's number 2. We'll build systems that don't just get things done, but create space for growth. You won't feel tied down by your business. Instead, you'll learn to let it work for you. Number 3, a mindset of power. This isn't a quote-unquote feel-good mindset shift. This is about knowing you are in control. You'll move from a place of feeling captive in your business to being the one who steers it, who sets the pace, who owns every single decision with confidence. Let me be clear. This is an invitation to a space that's not for everyone. If you're feeling that pull, if you know it's time to elevate yourself and your business, then this program is for you. The waitlist is closing soon, in just a couple days. And I'm inviting those of you who are ready for this level of growth to join us. There's no scarcity here, just a place for those who belong. If you're listening and thinking, this sounds like my next step, listen to that. And if you're one of the first 5 that enroll, you'll get an accountability partner for just $50. This isn't just support. This is a connection at a whole new level. I'm also opening up sponsorships for Blueprint to Breakthrough. If you run a business that aligns with leadership, wellness, personal finance, tech, or productivity, this could be your opportunity to connect with an incredible audience. Sponsors do get a reduced ticket price and a chance to connect with a community dedicated to personal and professional growth. Reach out through the link in the show notes if this feels right for you. I want to give you a tool today. I've been receiving a few messages as of late on the digital products that I've been creating. I've got a new download for you that you can use to reflect on what we've talked about today. This isn't just another handout or digital download. It is a fillable PDF document with questions that will help you separate the real pressure from the unnecessary stress. Here's a sneak peek of what's inside. 1, there's an area of your life that feels like it's pushing you to grow. What is it? Where do you feel the pressure to perform? Where is stress lingering? What's unresolved and what steps can you take to resolve it? If you let go of unnecessary stress, what would open up for you? This PDF is available through the link in the show notes. There's also a special promo code. You'll need to put that in before you download it so that it's free for all listeners. Take it, use it, and start putting these distinctions into practice. And if today's conversation has resonated with you, I can't recommend Relentless enough. Tim Grover has a way of putting things that I guess you could say it cuts through the noise. I'm linking this book in the show notes also. You'll want to get a copy. And if you're serious about your growth, read it cover to cover. All right, it's time for our That's Good moment. I want to recap some of the strongest takeaways because they're just so freaking good, and you can't leave this episode without realizing what these are. 1, pressure is a privilege. It's not something to avoid. It's a challenge that you are strong enough to take on. Stress, on the other hand, is often unresolved tension. When you know the difference, you take control. 2, find clarity. When you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, is this situation moving me forward, or is it holding me back? Do I control it, or is it out of control? Blueprint to Breakthrough. It isn't just a course. It's not just a mastermind. It's a container for you to be in because you belong in that room. It's going to shift how you lead, how you operate, and how you show up every single day. If you're ready, this feels right, join the wait list. Then join the team. Sponsorships. If your business aligns with our mission and community, I want you to consider becoming a sponsor. Let's create something powerful together. And last but not least, the digital downloads. I want you to click the link in the show notes and use this tool to make real distinctions in your life. This isn't just about knowing what stress and pressure are, but it's about knowing how to respond to them. Thank you for spending time with me today. And I want you to remember, you're not at the mercy of your own circumstances. You have the strength to define them, to separate what fuels you from what drains you. So go out there, use this knowledge, and own it. And if today's episode speaks to you, check the show notes, grab Relentless, get on the Blueprint to Breakthrough waitlist, or talk to me about sponsorship. Until next time, keep building, keep leading, and keep breaking through those glass ceilings that have been limiting you forever. I'll catch you on the next episode. And remember, you got this.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Dentistry Support, the podcast. If you want to get in on the conversation or have something to share, join us on our Facebook group, The Dental Collaborative. Looking to connect or to be a guest? Head over to dentistrysupport.com. Or if you'd like to learn more about your host, Sarah Beth, or maybe you're thinking of starting your own podcast or looking for mentorship opportunities, well, just visit sarahbethherman.com. If you've got just a sec, remember to rate, subscribe, and leave a review for the podcast. That helps us keep growing. Thanks for supporting the show, and we hope you'll join us again in the next episode of Dentistry Support, the podcast.